Hello, welcome back to Madrona's Pulse Teachings. I am Iris, and I would love to chat with you a little bit more about this Taurus full moon that's upon us on November 15th, but specifically in terms of this lens of bidding farewell to Pluto in Capricorn, because this full moon is coming 4 days before we watch and witness and experience and embody Pluto entering Capricorn. And so this is a massive moment. November has been something. And let's just talk about how we can work with some of this full moon energy, appreciating the bigger cycle that is at play. If you are returning to my channel, you'll notice that I am not where I usually am. I am in my office. You're with me in my office today because my home has resumed being a construction site because we were waiting and it was something. And so this is where we are. So I hope that you are doing as well as you can be doing. And let's talk about this a little bit. So as we know, this is a Taurus full moon that is conjunct Uranus. Okay, so we've got the sun at 24 degrees of Scorpio, we've got the moon at 24 of Taurus, and then we have Uranus there at 25. I'm not going to go through all the aspects of this full moon. I have another video that does that. I really want to keep this focused on weaving the narrative of how the energies right now can support us moving forward. And this is important, especially if you are struggling right now, especially if you are feeling overwhelmed, especially if there is a lot of grief rising, and really being present with what this full moon is inviting us into. And we know right away that there is something about radical change, radical authenticity. These are the quintessential Uranian themes, okay? And so a full moon conjunct them, that is sometimes sudden change. But this is Uranus, conjunct the full moon, illuminating something in the Taurus part of our life that is ready for change. I really feel it is ready for letting go. It's like Uranus has been there, right? And Uranus is retrograde, and Uranus is coming to the close of its journey. We're still journeying for a while with it in Taurus, but it is going to enter Gemini. And so right now, there's something ready to be illuminated so that we can let it go. And that something has to do with our values. Taurus is our values. It's our deep embodied values. It is also how we align our embodied consciousness with our values and how we go about our life and how we decide how we want to make money, who we want to be in relationship with. And Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus right now is in Capricorn. And so this adds another layer, and that's really significant because Venus has entered Capricorn for this full moon. And where is Pluto? Finishing its journey in Capricorn. And also another layer, who rules Capricorn? Saturn. And Saturn stations direct in Pisces on the day of this full moon. So this is this cosmic conversation that we can really work with to help us root in, okay, we got some strong earth energy here, root into our values that are opening as we let go. As we let go. Now, Pluto, we're talking about a 16-year cycle. We're talking about a 16-year cycle of reworking the structures that literally are the alignment of our sense of self and how we navigate through the social world. That is what Capricorn brings us into. And as we realign those structures of how we relate to the social world, how we can realign ourselves as well to that deep elder Capricorn wisdom that knows there is a cycle and a source of wisdom that is so far beyond everything in the kind of 3D matrix of this day-to-day societal realms that we move through, that we navigate. And Capricorn and Saturn help us to kind of negotiate the boundary between what we can know and what is beyond what we can know. And so one of the ways of saying goodbye during this full moon is, how have your values that connect you to how you want to live your life changed? And where are they right now? And where are they right now through recent events? And how do you want to move forward in terms of embodying your own values as they align you to your spiritual path? Because Saturn is in Pisces, and it is wanting to create the structures for our own lives so that we can be more aligned with our soul path. It's very, very serious, Saturn in Pisces. And so there is this link between radical release, and this could be literally in our body with this full moon. Uranus conjunct the moon in Taurus can be radical release of things that we've carried with us, of outdated belief systems, of outdated grief that we just don't need to carry forth anymore, and that actually we can't. We can't carry that stuff forward. The way that we maybe have viewed our own self in terms of the collective, the way that we viewed our own self in terms of family values. Usually with Venus and Taurus values, there is a journey of having to look at our own sense of self and how we've, sometimes separated from some of those early conditionings of values that most of us are brought up in with family, and how we're ready to move into a whole new embodiment, a new embodiment that Pluto entering into Aquarius is calling us forth into, because there are radical times coming forth, and they're going to require whole new ways of relating to ourselves and to the collective and to the social structures which govern the societies that we move through and that we ourselves are part of. And there's going to be so much changing over the next few years. And so as we're in this moment with this Uranus conjunct full moon in Taurus, Venus in Capricorn, she is wise. She is strong. She is able to hold herself with a very straight spine and accomplish what she wants to accomplish. Venus in Capricorn, however, suffers when she is aligning herself to the goals of others or systems or ideologies that do not align with her own values. And so here, it is really important to create space. Yes, there is a lot going on in the collective. Yes, there is grief coming up in the collective, especially with the recent election in the States. If you were hoping for a Harris win, there is a lot of grief coming up for folks. And we are moving through into new realities, and we are moving into new stories. And so working with this full moon, I really invite you to create a little bit of space between all the stories out there, okay? All the stories out there, in your own journey of introspection around your values, what you've been working with for the past 16 years, and what you are ready to radically release, and how you relate to the collective, and how you relate to social structures, and how we can all look at ways that our daily life and, just our sense of life is conditioned sometimes by values that we don't agree with. And that's part of being human, and that's part of having to navigate the collective. And yet there is something here that suggests we're going through a major release so that we can move forward and potentially have a different role, okay? And that's also part of what we're saying goodbye to with Pluto and Capricorn. Because Capricorn is also about our role in the collective, our role in social structures. And maybe our role is ready to change now. And maybe a social process is going to be accelerated with Pluto in Aquarius so that new structures and new communities can arise. And so I invite you also, Pluto at that final degree of Capricorn during this full moon, there is grief. Pluto brings up grief. And so there may be stories to say goodbye to, stories to release. They might be very personal. They might be stories connected to what in the recent events in the States you might have really been hoping was going to unfold. And part of the grieving process is releasing the stories that we're attached to or were hoping for or never got to have, so that we can free up some of that embodied space, that body psyche space within our own place, and welcome in new stories and create space to meet the present moment as it's unfolding. And there is radical energy present with this full moon. And so we really can honor, we can release, we can say goodbye. And in doing that and holding that kind of spirit for the few days that move us through this full moon, we're in a position to welcome Pluto in Aquarius and the changes that are coming. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of feelings. Throughout the globe, there is a lot going on. And we are in these changing times. And when we're in changing times, it's really important to not get too attached to stories, to not try and make sense of everything right away, to allow the body psyche to move and process. And in doing that, we also create space for radical insights to emerge. Because if we're stuck in story, it's really hard for those radical insights to emerge. And yet, when we're releasing and we're kind of honoring just what's present, Uranus is radical insights. Aquarius is radical insights. And so we can also kind of work with this phase that we're moving through to allow new insights to come. And they could be radical because that's what we are entering. And here we go. So I will see you soon. I'm going to have another video about Pluto into Aquarius, some themes to be aware of, opening to as we move through this time. We are all journeying through it in different ways, but we are all journeying through it. And I am sending lots of love. Be well.